Welcome to I Said What I Said, a sports podcast giving you opinions not heard anywhere else. I'm your host, Brad Wakai, alongside my co-host, Tyson Gentry. And for those watching on YouTube, we've got a different look here. Like Tyson and I have been in the lab. We've been grinding visuals. We've been putting in the work. And hopefully this just gives you a better overall view of the show. So if you're not watching us on YouTube, maybe you should, because we're giving you a little different look here. But I digress. Tyson, we are diving into some college football today. I mean, I can't believe how close it is. We got official visits happening on the recruiting trail. We got commitments in about a month. Like it's happening.
We're here, the college football video game. I think the first playable moment will be July 15th at 4 p.m. Eastern. For those of you that are looking forward to that, I know Brad and I both are. I mean, we've been waiting 10 years now for the next one. So, they're releasing little breadcrumbs here and there. So we're trying to get you up on the game, maybe as some guys that you've heard the names of, but you're like, man, I don't know who I want. Do I start with an Army dynasty? Do I start with Navy? Do I hop somewhere small school or whatever? Do I take over a big school? Today mostly is the Power Four. It feels so weird to say Power Four, but that's where we're at. So we're going to go with the Power Four guys. And as the season kind of creeps closer, Brad and I will do the group of 5 guys, and then we'll get more in the weeds with some true sleepers because this is maybe a little bit more of a broad overview. These are names you might have heard, but aren't super familiar with. And then by August, I mean, we're into the third string running back from Tulane and why he's a good player.
I can't wait. We're going to put together a list. We're kind of going to do a rapid fire, go through the players to watch. We got some offense, we got some defense, and then we're going to I got some newcomers. I think Tyson does as well. So let's go into this. Players to watch, Tyson. And this isn't a ranking by any means. Like we're just kind of rapid firing, but who's the first person you want to talk about here?
The first guy that I wrote down, and full disclosure, a lot of mine are cheating. All right, people. I mean, this is for the masses here. So my first guy is Miller Moss, the quarterback from USC, and I think that if you're a college football guy or a college football girl, like a fan or whatever, you've heard his name. This is a guy who's going to be taking over for Caleb Williams. He's in Lincoln Riley's system. And by the way, Brad, the last time we saw him play, and really the first time we saw him play, threw 6 touchdowns in the Holiday Bowl. He's been in the system now. This is his fourth year. At USC, he's been playing in this Lincoln Riley offense for a while, and typically, those guys make bigger jumps than I think most people are ready for. And he certainly looks like he's next in line here for Lincoln.
Well, I'll stick with the USC flavor. I'm going to go Zachariah Branch, the wide receiver, kick returner. I mean, this kid is a flat out burner. If you like speed, you're going to like this kid. I mean, 800 yards of returns, 2 touchdowns in that aspect. Was just a true freshman last year, and he was doing that. It'll be interesting to see what he does without Caleb Williams. But like you just said, your guy Miller Moss. But also, Tyson, going to the Big Ten, it's just a little different level of athlete, a little different level of football than the Pac-12. Can he do it? That's what I want to see. Player to watch, definitely Zachariah Branch for me.
My next one here, and this is for the TikTok and Instagram clips. Nico Iamaleava. This is if you've been on social media at all for the last decade or really 3 years, you know who this is, the Tennessee quarterback. This is Heupel's wet dream, brother. Like this is Josh Heupel's offense, and the one that Hendon Hooker was awesome, and like we all thought he was going to win the Heisman until he gets hurt. They lose a couple games down the stretch. This is the next up in this kind of new era of Tennessee football, and honestly, I think the things that he can bring to the table are going to make Tennessee a lot more interesting in the national picture than just in the Southeastern Conference. I think that it's a fun story when Tennessee's rolling because they could beat anybody in the SEC. With this kid at the helm, they might be able to beat anybody in the country, and that's a different look for a Tennessee team.
And he changed the landscape of NIL. I mean, he was one of the first ones to get a huge bag, and it's kind of changed a little bit. Yeah, I mean, yeah. One of them's I think a little bit better of a spot right now to play, yeah. But yeah, I mean, super interesting to see this kind of that he was the first big NIL name. Tyson, I don't want Deion Sanders to get mad at us. I don't want him to get mad at me. So I'm going to talk about his favorite person, it seems, and Travis Hunter.
Oh, listen. I thought you meant Deion Sanders.
Oh, you're right. No, Travis Hunter, I mean, for all the pomp and circumstances surrounding Colorado, there's just no denying that Travis Hunter can flat out play on both sides of the ball. He's a good wide receiver. He's a good cornerback. He's a great wide receiver. He's a great cornerback. That's really the storyline I want to watch. Is he going to just focus on one side of the football as he progresses to the next level? Is that going to be on the defensive side at corner? Is he going to just switch to wide receiver? Because I think either way he decides, Tyson, he's going to be playing at the next level. He's that special of a talent.
Which one do you think he's going to play at the next level? And then a little follow up to that: do you think him playing both ways is hurting in some aspect?
I think he's going to play corner.
Me too.
Is it hurting? Probably, just based on the amount of snaps that he played early on. I mean, the getting hurt thing kind of a fluke. Like, that's just football. Like, it's going to happen. But the usage rate was just so high. It had to have worn him down. So I think it's hurting him a little bit. But, the other thing too, the specialization, I mean, kids do that throughout high school. I mean, you got stars playing both sides of the football. It just so happens he's able to do both at the collegiate level, which is impressive.
Yeah, he's a monster. And I mean, we knew he was coming. And when he showed up, it was like, oh, he's as good as we thought. My next one here, this is a guy that we're pretty sure is coming, in Cam Coleman from Auburn, the wide receiver. This is a physical freak, folks. This is a guy who jumped 6'4" in high jump in high school. This is a guy who won the MVP of the Auburn spring game at 17 years old. He's walking into an offense. Brad, did Auburn throw the ball farther than 10 yards down the field a year ago?
Well, they couldn't. They had Peyton Thorne as QB.
And now this is, I don't care who's playing quarterback, just throw me a 50-50. This is a new level of the offense. And college football is a little bit better when Auburn's good. It's a lot better when Auburn has stars. And I think Cam Coleman is a star.
Yeah, I mean, year 2 of the new regime, I mean, they need a star, man. Like, they definitely do, especially because it feels like it's gettable, Tyson, with the Nick Saban no longer being there. So we'll see what happens. I think he's going to be a big reason. I don't want to steal this guy because I know he's on your list, so I'm going to go somewhere else. I'm going to watch Trey Harris from Ole Miss. I think this could be a high-flying offense. There's a ton of expectations on Ole Miss, but the wide receiver, Trey Harris, is going to be a big reason why they have that success. I mean, Jackson Dart coming back, the quarterback, has a reliable receiver to throw to. Also, Tyson, I had to endure Ole Miss just torching Penn State's defense in the New Year's Six Bowl last year, and Trey Harris was a big reason why, and he kind of just flashed what he can do. I think he's in for a big, big season.
Yeah, and you're in trouble because you're going to have to deal with Quinshon Judkins way more than just in a bowl game. It's going to matter a little bit more this time, I think. So there's some Ole Miss nightmares for you Penn State guys. I got a Penn State, a little shout later in this list too, so maybe that won't be so bad. This next one, I'm going to go with the guy I think you were talking about not wanting to steal from me. I'm going with Jeremiah Smith, Ohio State. It's just the next one, folks. Like, this is an offense. Marvin Harrison Jr. is gone. We know Igbuka is the man. You can really pick a name out of the hat in that wide receiver room, and you're going to find a good player. By the end of this season, everyone's going to know who the best one is, and it's Jeremiah Smith. From everything that we're hearing out of Columbus, he's closer to Marv as a prospect than he's closer to Garrett Wilson, Chris Olave. Again, pick a name because they've been turning and burning guys. But as far as hype goes, this might be the most hyped Ohio State wide receiver prospect that I can remember in the last couple of years. And that's saying something because they just had a guy go 4 in the NFL draft.
Well, the other thing, too, about Jeremiah Smith, he was the number 1 player in the 2024 class. I mean, he was damn near got a 100 rating, 99.61. They call him a 5-star plus. Like, he's that good. Like, just a super freak. He's the fastest person to get his stripe removed in the program history at Ohio State. So he's going to be an impact player as a freshman. So keep an eye. 6'3", 215 at 18 years old.
Little.
Come on. Okay. I'm going to go and give the running back some love. Ollie Gordon from Oklahoma State. Now, he was a big reason why Oklahoma State's season wasn't as bad as we thought. Like, I was full on fade mode for Oklahoma State last year. I'm like, they're going to suck. They're going to be horrible. Ollie Gordon just put the team on his back. And I want to see what he can do in year 2. I mean, he's going to have expectations, but I think this dude's built for it. I think there's a chance that he's going to be the best the best running back in the class. He could be the number 1 running back taken in the NFL draft. Tyson, if everything goes well, because they got a soft schedule, we could be looking at a Heisman contender as well.
Yeah, and they just have to hope that they really hit on some of these transfers that they brought in, because it hasn't always been pretty. They get big names every year, and then it's like, oh man, this guy's not nearly as good as we thought. Hopefully that changes. If you listen to our shows, we're both Oklahoma State guys. I mean, this is a Mike Gundy podcast, people. My next guy here, Kyron Lacey, and this is a senior. He's the only senior that I'm going to have on these lists here, and I know that you're looking at this and you're going, oh, a lot of SEC wide receivers. They're good. And I know the LSU might not actually be wide receiver U, but I think they've put out the best pros over the last handful of seasons. This is a guy who was not buried on the depth chart, but he was behind Malik Neighbors, who went 6th in the NFL draft, and Brian Thomas, who went, I think, 22 in the NFL draft. I think Garrett Nussmeier would have been an easy pick here if you're trying to find somebody or shoehorn somebody into LSU. But this is a guy I've seen play a lot, and I think that with experience sometimes – we kind of lose the shine on some of these guys. Kyron Lacy's a good player, 18.6 yards per catch, 7.1 yards after the catch, Brad. That led LSU in both categories. And again, they had 2 guys go in the first round of the NFL draft.
I think LSU is going to have a really good offense. He's going to be a big reason why. Tyson, I'm going to stick down on the bayou. I'm going to go defense. Edge rusher, linebacker, Harold Perkins Jr. Completely misused last year, right? Like we came in with expectations. He's going to be amazing. And the defense got fired because they didn't use this guy the way they should have. So what do I expect this season? Line up and go get the freaking passer. Like, go get the quarterback. If that happens, I mean, we're going to be looking at this guy like, oh, who is this? So Harold Perkins Jr., that's a name to remember.
Yes, and Harold Perkins Jr. was a guy that found himself at the top of a lot of 2025 NFL mock drafts after his freshman year, and then found himself at the end of the first round or a second-round player after last year. So the ceiling is certainly there, and we know that. Again, I'm sticking in the South. Connor Wegman, A&M quarterback. Think back, Brad. Remember weeks 1 through 3 when it was like, oh, A&M's got a quarterback. Like, this looks nice. And then he gets hurt in week 4. That was the Auburn game. This is a big guy with a big arm and enough mobility to kind of get to his spots. I think he can put the ball pretty much anywhere it needs to be. This was you're looking around after the 3rd week and you're going, is A&M maybe have a Heisman winner on their hands?
Right.
And this is a guy that I think everybody forgot about because it's fun to dunk on A&M and Jimbo and the boosters and everybody else and everything crazy that has happened to them over the last couple of years. And this is a guy that I think kind of slipped through the cracks a little bit. And I expect him to rebound and do it in a way that is explosive.
Okay. South, people are getting sick of it. Let me go out west. Teteroa McMillan, wide receiver from Arizona. The dude's a beast, man. 6'5". The other thing, too, even after Jed Fish left, they were able to keep their quarterback. I think this offense could be explosive. I want to see what happens. There's a couple different things that could happen here. I mean, the starter got hurt, and then the backup came and actually looked good. Is there going to be a quarterback controversy? Who knows? I mean, we'll see that in camp. But what we do know is that this kid's going to be really good. I think he's NFL body at 6'5", 205, 93 catches, over 1,400 yards. Big 12. Tyson, they're not going to the Big 10. I think he can still put up numbers. This is going to be a name out west.
And I was looking at Arizona pretty heavy. I think the Jacob Cowan hole is going to be pretty big to fill for them. And this is an offense on the right trajectory. So there was like 3 or 4 names, honestly, that I was like, I don't know which one of these guys to pick. So I think that the Arizona offense is going to be good again. And that's a great call there. Does Jordan James count, the running back from Oregon? Because I put him on the list, but this feels like cheating. I mean, you had Ollie Gordon, so I guess I'm going to let it rip. This is a guy, he was better than Bucky Irving a year ago, people. This is 7.1 yards per carry, and if you watch them play, Bucky Irving was awesome. Jordan James just a little bit different. He got half the shine that I think he deserved. He was one of the better running backs in the country, and he's going to assume the lead role in that committee because Oregon's not just going to run one guy out there. We know that, but this is a guy a year from now, we might look back and go, remember when Jordan James had 1,600 yards at Oregon?
Well, if you're going to cheat a little bit, I'm too, because I'm going to go Luther Burden from Missouri. We can't mention this guy without it. I mean, Missouri came out of nowhere, Tyson, last year, and actually was really good. I think we were on that a little bit just because we like Eli Drinkwitz, we like Brady Cook. Cook's back, and so is Luther Burden. Luther Burden might be a top 10 pick. He might be the number 1 receiver taken. He dynamic playmaker. Go up and get it. Run past people. Run a good route. Like, he can do it all. I think he's a 5-tool wideout, and we're going to see that this season.
I'll stick with Mizzou, and I'll go across the field, across from Luther Burden. I'm going with Marquise Johnson, the other wide receiver at Missouri, because I think that Brady Cook, for better or worse, he's going to throw the football. And I think that Luther Burden's going to draw a lot of doubles. That leaves Marquise Johnson to be one-on-one a lot. This is another crazy athlete, man. And I think that if we're going to I think he's 5'11". When you watch this dude play, you're like, he might be 6'4". I mean, he's getting up there. And I know this is a true player to watch. I think he had like 30 catches a year ago. I expect that number to be closer to 50. And I know that you might have NFL stats in your head and you're thinking 50, that's nothing. That's a good season for a college wide receiver. I think Marquise Johnson is the name to watch at Mizzou.
I'm going to do my last wide receiver here. And it's another cop-out, but Isaiah Bond, the transfer from Alabama going to Texas, this could be a ridiculous year in this offense, just taking the place of Xavier Worthy, being paired with Quinn Ewers, a better thrower than Jalen Milroe that he dealt with last year. There's a chance that this guy just puts up insane stats. And we saw him come on late for Alabama. Again, it wasn't like, Jalen Milroe is an incredible athlete and he has a great deep ball, but Quinn Ewers is a better prospect, better thrower of the football. Isaiah Bond, I think, is poised to be the number one wide receiver in that offense and have a huge season.
Yeah, and there's weird to say, but it doesn't feel like there's a lot of people in his way to be the number one there. Brad, this one's just for you. For everybody out there, I'm sorry for this. Trey Moore, the defensive end from Texas. This is a guy, first of all, this is a team who lost multiple edge rushers, and I think everybody else is looking at the other side of the field and some of these other guys they have on defense. If you watch UTSA last year, this was the guy that jumped off the field. I think it was 14 sacks a year ago. Brad loves the Texas State school, so I had to get his boy on here. This is my next Jared Verse, and I was in on Jared Verse when he was at the University of Albany. I had been in on Trey Moore since at least a year ago at UTSA. I think he takes another leap, and we're talking about a potential top 15 draft pick in the NFL, which might sound crazy right now, but watch what happens this year. This guy can play.
Well, I think another potential top 15 draft pick is Mason Graham, the interior defensive tackle from Michigan. I think he's going to single-handedly wreck games for that defense this year. Wink Martindale comes over from the NFL. That's going to be a new wrinkle. It really is. He just got a Twitter or an X account because he's like, well, I need to recruit. And he's like, So he's like being like a curmudgeon on there. It's actually pretty funny.
Wink's looking for OnlyFans girls. That's what he's doing. Don't let him fool you.
So Mason Graham, he's the name to watch on this defense. They lost a ton. I don't know how good Michigan's going to be. Tyson and I will do like our early thoughts and preview before we break down every conference. We do it every single season, but I think we're going to do an early thoughts thing for some of the top schools. Mason Graham is going to be a game wrecker, and I don't think you're going to be able to double team him even in the Big Ten, even against SEC opponents. He's that good.
And I know that it's June right now, but it feels to me a little bit like people are, Harbaugh left and they just won the national championship and it's a new quarterback and what's this offense going to look like and all this stuff. The cupboards are not bare up in Ann Arbor. Right? This is a really, really good team again, and I think he might be the best player on it. This next one is a cop-out, but I'll shout out an individual guy. I have the Penn State running back room.
Let's go.
And we've been waiting on this for a while. Nick Singleton's an awesome player, and he's a known commodity. Allen is a good player and a known commodity. It doesn't feel like either one of those guys have necessarily hit the ceilings that we thought they were going to coming out of high school. I think Singleton especially, I might have had a little bit too high of expectations on him coming out. But then they add I don't know, I've scribbled my note. Is it Quentin Martin?
Quentin Martin, yep.
Yes, and this is a guy who had 27 touchdowns a year ago in high school as a senior, I believe, like 17 or 1,800 total yards. Just a little bit of a different feel, right? Because Singleton now, they're going to get after you. Quentin Martin's going to get around you. I think that's it. That's a thing that this Penn State offense can use. This threesome, I guess threesome and Wink Martindale back to back. Shout out. This might be the best running back room in the country. And I think that's one of the things that we've been a little bit early on when we're not anointing Penn State, but we're saying, hey, watch out for these guys when it comes to nut cutting time at the end of the season. They can run the ball and play with anybody. This might be the year that it's true.
Yeah, and the interesting thing, too, and I'm a Penn State alumnus, so I'm super excited for this running game because they hired Andy Kotelnicki to be the offensive coordinator. He's coming over from Kansas. He followed Lance Leopold from Buffalo to Kansas. He's just a brilliant offensive mind. I think this is going to open up a lot of things, and the running game is one of them. If you watch Kansas, the way he utilizes running backs in the offensive line running game, Singleton's going to be able to get downhill. And Tyson, just on your point, 1,000 rushing yards as a freshman. Katron Allen, 1,000 rushing yards as a freshman. Both took a step back because the running game was not called well or designed well by Mike Yurcich. I didn't think it was an offensive line thing. 3 of their guys got drafted in the top 5 rounds. That's a coaching thing for me. So Andy Kotelnicki's bringing a new flavor. From what I saw, the running game in the blue-white scrimmage, pretty dynamic. So I like where you're at there, Tyson. I'm going to stick with my Penn State guy here. I'm going to go Abdul Carter, the linebacker edge rusher.
That's
for
cheating.
Penn
This is one of the
State.
best players in the country, man.
Well, here's why I'm putting it, Tyson. He's switching to defensive end officially. He's taken over for Chop Robinson because remember, everybody's like, oh, man, how are they going to replace Chop Robinson, first-round draft pick to the Miami Dolphins? And there was some concern, I will say, like especially in Happy Valley, there was some internal concern, like, okay, who's going to step up and replace that? Abdul Carter, seeing the bag that these edge rushers are getting the NFL level, went to James Franklin's like, I want to switch positions. I want to be the edge rusher. Okay, fine. Can you do it? He's putting on weight. He's got the frame to do it. He's shown an ability to get after the passer. Tyson, I would not be surprised if it's 8 sacks and he's touching double digits. Like, he's just that good of an athlete.
Yeah, he's a freak, and he does have the frame. And, I don't want to throw shade at Chop, but Abdul Carter might be a little bit twitchier. Like Chop is a crazy athlete, but Abdul Carter might just be a different beast here. And it's nice that the Big Ten can kind of get some good defensive guys in because it's been years, Brad, since we've had a Big Ten. I'm just kidding. My next one here, and this is actually the last one on my list, Justin Jolly, the NC State wide receiver. This is a transfer from UConn. And if you've watched UConn football at all, especially last year, he was really the only thing, keeping your eyes glued to the screen. Robert Anae is a creative offensive guy at NC State. I think this is a hybrid, maybe not a Joker type role because Jolly played a lot of tight end essentially at UConn. This is a big bodied guy that NC State is going to be able to move around the formations. And who are they playing? And who is covering a guy like this? This is a matchup nightmare. And these are the ones, we can't really play college football prop markets, but I sure wish we could because I think Justin Jolly is being slept on by everybody.
Oh, especially in the ACC. Oh, Jesus. Okay, so you're complete on your list?
I tapped it at 10.
Okay, that's right. So let me close on mine then, because this is really the guy I want to highlight. I had a few more. I'm surprised we didn't overlap more. Jaden Ott, the running back from Cal, just so we can get the West Coast a little bit more of a flavor. I think it could be a tough year for Cal. That's what a lot of people are thinking. I don't think it's going to be a tough year for this guy. He's a stud, NFL guy, in my opinion. I think, listen, running backs don't go high anymore. I think if it's a foregone era, we're talking about a first or second round draft pick. It's just not going to be the case, but he's really good. It's going to be valuable for somebody late in the round. I think he's going to have a huge year on the ground.
And I feel old thinking back to a year ago when Bijan went 8 and Jahmyr Gibbs went 11. I think he could get up there. I think he could sneak up there, man.
We'll see. Okay, let me close this with my 2 incoming guys. You took Jeremiah Smith. I want to highlight Dylan Raiola from Nebraska, the quarterback, as well as DJ Lagway, the quarterback from Florida. Now, what's interesting here is the trajectory of these two were extremely different by the time the rankings closed, because Raiola was the number 1 guy in this class forever. I mean, he was ranked higher than Arch Manning from a time period. This was the guy in this class. Now, when I'm looking at it here, DJ Lagway finished number 1 at his position, number 3 overall, according to On3. And that's the industry standard or industry ranking. So this is from every single site compiled. So that's interesting to note. Julian Sayin was at Alabama short term. Then he transferred to Ohio State. He was number 2 at his position, that quarterback. And then Tyson, all the way down, is Dylan Raiola, 21st nationally, 3rd at his position. Very surprising. Now, he committed to Georgia, then decommitted. His dad is at Nebraska. I'm going to go out and say if he stays at Georgia, is there any doubt he's not top 10?
No.
So he's going to start. He's going to be the guy for Matt Rule. He's going to start as a freshman. Keep an eye out for him. That's my prediction. He's going to be the day 1 starter. Now, if he's not, I think he's going to get snaps. I think he's going to be good. There's a chance that he's, if you're watching on YouTube, the savior. If you're not, putting this in quotes, the savior of Nebraska. And then DJ Lagway. Tyson, this kid could play as a freshman. It's hot for Sunbelt Billy, man. His seat is scalding hot. They play the hardest schedule in the country. I think they might throw him in there. Maybe Billy does something with Lagway. He's like, no, look, I got him here. Like, come on, just give me another year. maybe he's good, maybe he's not, but he seems like a stud. So I wanted to highlight those two incoming quarterbacks.
Yeah, I don't know if there's a hotter seat in the country right now than Billy Napier. Like it's going to be tough. And this was a guy we loved. We're like, damn, I can't believe he went to Florida, and now it's like, damn, I can't believe he's going to go back to Louisiana to coach somewhere else. How long? So I'm setting the over under at 1.5 years for Dylan Raiola at Nebraska. Are you taking the over or the under?
I'm taking the over. I don't think he's going to. His dad's there, and if he wanted to go to Georgia, he would have just stayed at Georgia.
I think Dad can always get another job. That's what I think. Because I think that Matt Rule is a good, like, we know this. He's a good college football coach.
Mm-hmm.
What we don't know is how the rest of the team is going to look around. I'm not worried about Dylan Raiola being the issue, and I'm not worried about Nebraska being able to drop an NIL bag off at his front door whenever they need to. But I am a little worried. Some of these kids these days, man. I mean, I'm telling you. They want the shine. I've sounded so old. I was just joking around. But he does, like, this. It's a real thing, right? Like, what did we see? Quinn Ewers committed to Ohio State, looked around and was like, man, I'm just going to go get paid to go play at Texas. Like, I can go right now and be on everybody's TV noon every Saturday. And I wonder if what if Georgia comes knocking again, right? Like, what if after Carson Beck they go, man, we thought we had the next guy up. We don't. And I think that there are always going to be opportunities like that. It's a weird landscape in college football. I'll take the under just to be a dick, but I do think that he's probably going to stay there for 3 years. That was the sentiment after the commitment, was like, we got a guy who's going to be a Nebraska Cornhusker. Things change fast.
It does. And Tyson just hates Nebraska. He never wants you guys to succeed. No. It's always
for Nebraska by myself on this podcast. For actually, just kidding. We were both anti-Scott Frost guys, pretty hard, but
pretty hard.
Yeah, and Brad wanted Matt Rule at Penn State, so that's where this outburst is coming from.
All right. Well, those are our Power 5 players, or Power 4. Come on, what am I doing here? Not money making time. Those are our Power 4 players to watch, and just not break out. I mean, these are our list of names to know. We could have gone on for hours, but these are just some guys that we think that you'll need to know heading into the season. Now, we're going to go into the group of 5 next. People transfer out, people transfer down. It's a fun. I don't even want to say conference, but that's kind of what it is. But like, it's a fun level of football to follow. I mean, this is what me and Tyson love, that level. I mean, it's just fun. So we got a group.
There's more guys you need to know in the group of 5 than there are in the Power 4.
That was better than I was saying it. So that was exactly. So that'll be fun. So that's going to be next week. Now, if you haven't watched our NBA Finals preview, Game 1 got underway on Thursday. So if you're watching this, the finals are already underway. But we're going to be back after Game 2, breaking down what's going on there. And then we're going to go get back into college football with the group of 5 players to watch. We'll just keep on riding this thing until we get closer and closer to college football starting. So with that being said, like, subscribe, and share the show on the way out. Follow us on our socials if you'd like at ISWIS_pod. We'll talk to you all when we talk to you. Till then, guys, peace.